I asked 5 Valorant pros what their advice was to improve in Valorant. This is what they said. We're gonna start by listening to what N0thing said.
So Dibbs said, hey, I'm working on a YouTube video. I was wondering what your advice was to improve in Valorant, or any competitive game that matters. CSGO. Interested in pro advice to reach a top level in FPS game. Muscle memory, mechanics, right? You need to do a lot of repetition. My team's nuts. You always want, so muscle memory mechanics is the one big thing, and then game sense. So FPS is based on, like, especially a 5v5 like Counter-Strike, even Search and Destroy and Call of Duty, Valorant, is to know where people can be at certain points of the round and what the common strategy is, aka the meta. Meta is most effective tactic available. The meta is still being solved in a game like Valorant, but what you understand is the basics, right? A Brimstone wants to smoke this. If they have their ults, what they could do with them. And you just got to kind of build up understanding the basics at each level. And then, you know, try to be as intelligent as you can about the process.
N0thing provided a great explanation for us, and I think a lot can be learned from what he said. Perfecting your mechanics and understanding the meta is essential to improving in Valorant. So next up, we have Hiko. He gave some pretty solid advice, so let's see it.
Yo, Dibbs, thank you for the $5. Hey, Hiko, I'm working on a YouTube video. I was wondering what your advice was to improving Valorant in any competitive game for that matter, besides just playing a lot, obviously. I think you need to, I think you really need to, work on your mechanics in this game, especially if you're from Counter-Strike. You need to learn the abilities, you need to learn the movement, you need to learn the timings, you need to learn how certain abilities and certain agents chain their abilities together. You need to learn how, you know, the standard takes that people do, as far as, you know, you take A, you throw the smokes, you put a wall up, you try to plant. There's just like a lot of like game knowledge you need to get that you're going to be behind on for the people that's been playing for the last like month.
So I think Hiko thought that I was new to Valorant, but his advice was still helpful nevertheless. Basically, his main idea was that to improve in Valorant, you need to get very good at mechanics. Not only do you need to master mechanics, but you need to learn every ability and how playing as a team works in general. This is very good advice for everyone, but is especially useful for new players. It's also very similar to what N0thing said. Up next, we have FaZe Teeqo's advice.
For pro advice, I actually reach the top level on competitive shooter. A lot of it with games like this, as much as you want it yourself, a lot of it really comes down to having a team or people around you that you like.
No, it fucking works.
That like wants the same thing. Like no matter how much you want it yourself, games like this, it's, I mean, you can for sure, but I feel like it's important to find a squad with like similar mindset. Watch a lot of people that are good, pick up on what they do, try to maybe mimic or certain things that they do, how they play certain situations, and try to incorporate it in your own gameplay. That's what I would say. Play a lot and watch a lot.
Teeqo said that it's ideal to surround yourself by people with the same aspirations. You need to surround yourself by people that want to get better and improve. Other than having good teammates, watching pro gameplay is very important. And up next, we have ShaZaM, so let's see what he said.
Improve in Valorant or any competitive game? Play a lot. That's a really loaded question, Dibbs. You have to play a lot and like play productively. Think about what you're doing.
So the main thing to take away from what ShaZaM said was to play productively. He said that you need to be productive and think about what you're doing. This is a very broad statement, but what I think he was trying to say was that you need to analyze your decisions, and then you need to think about why you made those decisions. If those decisions were not helpful to your team or didn't get you closer to winning, then maybe you need to reconsider your decisions and learn from it. Analyzing gameplay is definitely a great way of improving in any game. Next, we're going to move on to what 6CS said.
I'm working on a YouTube video. What is your advice to improve Valorant? Or any competitive game in general? I think studying the game is like really important, like watching good players play and stuff like that.
So what we can take away from this is that watching pros play is very, very important to improving. Studying all parts of the game is also one of the best tools for improvement. For example, learning how to maintain an efficient economy, knowing how to line up arrows with Sova, knowing how to line up smokes with Viper, studying how to push as a team, figuring out how each character works and what their role is within the team. These are just some examples of what you need to study within Valorant. So now that we understand what a pro's advice is, I'm going to talk about what works for me to improve. Now I know that I'm not a professional or anything, but I think I can still give some pretty good advice. It's important to understand that your skill level is not defined by what rank you are. Your overall skill in Valorant can be seen as how capable you are of adapting and improving. Improvement can be defined as the process of one thing moving from one state to a state considered to be better, usually through some action intended to bring about that better state. Now I know this definition sounds complicated, but basically what this means is that improvement is simply getting better at something. To truly improve in Valorant, there are many different areas in your gameplay that will require change. To better envision this, we can separate skills in Valorant into 4 different categories. These categories are teamwork, game sense, aim/mechanics, and determination/persistence. Now how can we train each of these different factors individually and productively? Teamwork. As FaZe Teeqo said, watching pros play is a very good way to improve. I think studying how the pros work as a team to accomplish a goal is a great tool to help anyone improve. Another way to improve teamwork is by using voice chat and communicating with your team and letting them know what your plan is. Game sense. Improving your game sense is something very difficult to do. Getting better game sense takes a combination of both playing and watching better players. It's important to not just play 24/7 and expect fast improvement. Watching pros as well as rewatching your own gameplay to see mistakes you may not have noticed is vital to improving as a player. Aim/mechanics. Your aim and mechanics will get better naturally over time. However, spending 30 minutes to an hour every day specifically training it can help perfect your aim very quickly. Using third-party aim trainers is something I would highly recommend. You can set up so many scenarios that the Valorant practice range simply doesn't offer. Some aim trainers I would recommend are Kovacs, AimGod, Aimtastic, or AimLabs. There are many options out there, but those ones have been my favorite so far. A proper warm-up before you play is also a necessary thing to do. In order to play at the top of your game consistently, you need to have a solid warm-up. If you don't have a good warm-up, consider watching the video I made about my Valorant warm-up routine. There will be a link at the top of the screen and in the description. The last category is determination and persistence. Believe it or not, this may be one of the most difficult to master. Staying determined is needed to excel in any competitive game. You have to dedicate time and practice if you want to be at the top. This means consistently training your aim, studying pros, and reviewing your own gameplay. Another thing to note is that taking breaks is so helpful to stay determined. If you're always playing and never taking a break, the game may become stale and not fun. You need to ask yourself the question, am I having fun playing this game, or am I just playing to get better or rank up? If you aren't having fun playing the game, you need to take a break. This is something I personally have a very hard time doing, but when I do take a break, I feel 10 times better and more interested in the game. Mental health is one of the most important factors in grinding to the top of any competitive game. Now that we know how to improve all 4 of these categories, the last thing is to apply this. Don't just click off this video and continue to put in no effort to improving. Go out and apply everything you've learned and maybe come back and drop a comment with your results. I hope everyone learned something from this, and I know it may not be a perfect video on how to improve, and may not even contain everything you need to know, but I think it's at least a good start to understand what you need to do. If you guys enjoy videos like this, go ahead and subscribe. I make a whole lot of videos like this, and I put a lot of effort into these videos. So that is all I have for you guys today, unfortunately, but I want you guys to go out and improve your gameplay, and I will see you next time.